everybody. I'm Mike. This is a bunch of Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to the Right of the People single shot, where it's just you, me, and whatever topic is trip my trigger today. So uncover your keyboard, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation.
Hey, everybody. I'd say good morning, but given the subject of conversation this morning, that's more of a wish than a statement of fact, isn't it? At least if you are involved in the two-way community and give a darn about it. Wait a couple minutes here, see if anybody wants to come be part of the conversation. If not, I'll just get straight into it. So, we have some pretty dark days ahead of us, possibly. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe. Judging by the title of today's single shot, it's pretty easy to tell what I'm angry about. Chump Trump Tramples 2A. Trump administration signs bump stock ban. I wrote an article for my website, budgetgunsandgear.com. Go check it out in the blog post. But you don't have to, because I'm going to go ahead and read it to you here. Chump Trump Tramples 2A. In a move that is staggering in its level of betrayal, the Donald Trump DOJ finalized a rule by the ATF that will redefine machine gun to include bump stocks and gives those who own them 90 days to surrender or destroy them, or face becoming felons. This comes despite the ATF ruling not once, but twice, under the Obama administration no less, that bump stocks are not subject to regulation under the NFA and are therefore legal for people to possess. As a result, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, no one is really sure how many are in circulation, of law-abiding Americans spent their hard-earned money to legally buy, own, and use this firearm accessory. As of Tuesday, 12/18/18, those who own one of these hunks of plastic have 90 days to surrender or destroy their legally acquired property with no provisions for grandfathering, registration, or recompense. Nope. It's just straight up good old-fashioned de facto confiscation. Don't you just love the pitter-patter of little jackbooted feet? Come on, Mike. These are just toys. They're not anything a serious shooter uses. Besides, I don't own one and I don't want one. I'll save my energy to fight when they want to ban something I care about. That seems to be the apathetic feeling of many gun owners. They don't own bump stocks. They don't want bump stocks. They don't like bump stocks. So they don't care about bump stocks. I can understand that. I don't own, want, or really care about them in and of themselves either. That's right. In and of themselves, I really don't care about them one way or the other. But this is about far more than bump stocks. It's about preserving every last remaining bit of our Second Amendment rights. It's about a government agency at the whim of the bureaucracy and the direction of the president being able to reverse its own prior interpretations of the law and, in fact, rewrite the law without going through the legislature that enacted it. It's about law-abiding Americans having to choose between submitting to being stripped of their legally acquired property without recompense or becoming felons. And those are just the immediate issues. Tell me, do you really think this will stop here? Has there ever been a case in which the government, once given the power to do something, has stopped after the first time it's exercised it? What's next? You can bet that if they're allowed to get away with this, binary triggers are on the list, then so-called high-capacity magazines, then those evil assault weapons, then all semi-auto weapons, then high-capacity revolvers, then all repeating firearms. Then, when they have everything else, they'll come after your single shots as well. The honest ones will tell you that this is their plan. If you pay attention, you can see that the left has adopted the strategy of incrementalism and has been slowly, steadily, and patiently chipping away at the Second Amendment for decades, all heading in one direction. But Trump did this. He's a Republican. Well, yeah, he ran as one, and most of his policies have been along those lines. But he is obviously not as strong on the Second Amendment as us pro-gun folks would like. And historically, it has been the left who have been, and currently are, after our guns. There is still hope that this egregious overreach of government power will be stopped in its tracks. The Firearms Policy Coalition, the Firearms Policy Foundation, and the Madison Society Foundation have all filed suit to seek an injunction on and a reversal of this ruling. From the lawsuit, ignoring the will of Congress by subverting the Attorney General Secession Act, President Donald J. Trump unlawfully appointed Matthew Whitaker as acting attorney general in spite of clear statutory direction that Rod J. Rosenstein, as deputy attorney general, was to assume the duties and responsibilities of attorney general. As such, the final rule promulgated and executed by Matthew Whitaker on December 18, 2018 is unlawful and invalid. Further, despite Congress expressly defining the term machine gun in the Gun Control Act, 18 U.S. Code 921 at all, the GCA, and the National Firearms Act, along with the ATF's prior acknowledgement that a bump stock was not a machine gun, nor subject to regulation under the GCA and NFA, the defendants have implemented a final rule in an arbitrary and capricious manner which denies plaintiffs and those similarly situated the ability to retain a bump stock despite reliance on prior determinations made by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. Accordingly, a preliminary injunction is warranted and necessary to prevent ATF from enforcing this new rule during the pendency of this litigation. The Gun Owners of America has also said that it intends to file suit in the matter. Hopefully, we will see other groups like the Second Amendment Foundation get involved. I won't hold my breath waiting for the NRA to stick its oar in the water, though, as it was the NRA who called for the BATFE to look into regulating bump stocks after the Las Vegas massacre, in which a bump stock is alleged to have been used, the one and only crime in which this is a case. I'll let you know any further developments of the story as I hear them. There, now that I'm done blabbing on, hi Squid, how you doing today?
Good morning. It's early.
I don't know how good it is, but it is morning. I'll give you that. Dirty bastards. I'm kind of pissed about this, man. As I said, it's not about the bump stock itself. I really couldn't give a rat's ass about it, except, in and of themselves, I don't want one, I don't need one. But it's the point. It's the fact that this is the very, I hate to use a slippery slope argument, but it's the very top of the slippery slope. Where are they going to stop? I have never known of a government agency once given power to not exercise it over and over and over and over again as much as they can. So the ATF, I guarantee you, will not stop here, nor will any other government agencies. They will continue their regulatory overreach, and they'll continue enacting legislation via regulation. And, if this is happening under a so-called Republican administration, well, wait till we get another Democrat administration in here. Oh, boy. Thankfully, we have that pending Supreme Court case that just may curtail the regulatory powers of government agencies, but this whole thing makes it a lot more important of a case. Mateo 674 says angry in the morning is bad for your blood pressure. That's okay. It's the afternoon for me. I've been up for quite a while, so it's not really morning for me, for my internal clock. What do you think of all this, Squib? I'm sure you have an opinion. Or is it pre-coffee and you're not functioning properly?
Yeah, I've got one sip. Well, I mean, my opinion is never really very popular on gun channels, which is fine with me. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. People who know me well enough understand me and know they understand me well enough. I'll leave it at that. I will say this though. Last night I watched Ghost show, and him and Clover went over it. In the beginning of the show, Clover said he read the 157-page document on it, and he tried to give a synopsis of it. And it sounds kind of like the Hughes Amendment thing all over again. And from that standpoint, I mean, they put this out there. It really doesn't have a legal leg to stand on if it's looked at properly, and it's going to get challenged in court. And if it gets challenged in court and defeated, that opens the door for other things to be challenged. Well, that sounds a lot like 1986 all over again. Now, there are some people that hate Reagan because of the Hughes Amendment, and I don't think they have perspective because they either weren't alive in 1986 or they were babies in 1986. I remember the 80s. I remember the Cold War. I remember being afraid the Russians were going to nuke us.
Yep.
Anybody who wasn't around for that and don't understand that Reagan called the Russians bluff just as good as Kennedy did, if not better, and he ended the Cold War. He made this country, the world, a safer place. The man's not a saint. He doesn't walk on water. There are some people that think Trump walks on water. I don't think Trump walks on water. But the Hughes Amendment was added on, and he was promised that it would get challenged in court and it would get taken off. So he just, signed off on it, washed his hands of it, and then it was never followed up in court. My concern is that the same thing might happen again now.
Well, there have already been lawsuits filed.
And if you also want to look at, too, Reagan signed the FOPA into law. And there are states that do not honor FOPA. So even if the bump stock thing gets challenged, the states that have already enacted bump stock bans are probably not going to have something retroactively taken away. So it's a fight no matter what, and there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Now, somebody in the live chat last night, I typed in, this reminds me a lot of the Hughes Amendment, and somebody said, yeah, but this time we don't have the NRA to count on to go after that. And I get it. There's a lot of bitterness against the NRA for a lot of things. And the people who parrot some of the things that the NRA did or didn't do in the past are either repeating bad information or repeating exaggerated information. And that is not to say that the NRA has our best interests in mind. None of the pro-gun organizations have our best interest in mind. Some of them are just better at selling it than others. If the pro-gun organizations got rid of all gun control altogether, they'd all go out of business. So I'm saying that some of them approach it a different way, but those gun organizations are trying to grow their membership so they can get big and fat and rich like the NRA too. If along the lines of them growing, they can fight for our rights and get us some of our rights back, I don't have a problem with that either. So I just want people to look at things with perspective. I'm not saying change your mind, change your opinion. Just look at a lot of different things from different angles and don't be so narrow-minded.
One of the things I've noticed over the past 24 hours is that, being inundated by funding requests from these organizations that have filed lawsuits or say they're going to file a lawsuit. I think it's funny that Gun Owners of America have been sending funding requests, saying that they're going to file, and they haven't even filed yet. So as far as I know, I could be wrong on that. If someone knows differently, please let us know. Let me go out here in the chat and say hello. Got the Mohawk Boy. By the way, I watched that rack of lamb video, dude. That made me hungry. I'm gonna have to try to make something similar to that. Mateo 674, Psycho 316. Who else we got out there? We got Clint Taurus, Grim 90. How you doing, sir? That looks to be about everybody that's out there in the chat right now. Well, hello, and thank you for stopping by. This whole thing, it's, as I said, bump stocks, meh. I don't care about them one way or the other. Hey, Snob, how you doing? I do care about it in what this represents and what this could start. I do care about standing by fellow gun owners who do care about bump stocks, who do own them, who will be financially damaged because of this, what I believe to be unconstitutional grab of power by the ATF. They filed for an injunction. I know that, let me get my notes back out here. Who are they? The Firearms Policy Coalition, Firearms Policy Foundation, and Madison Society Foundation have already filed for an injunction against the enactment of this and enforcement of this regulation until the litigation goes through. So hopefully that will gain some traction. If not, we are going to have to be very careful about watching what these alphabet agencies are doing and watching what our elected officials are going to allow them to do. I don't see this ending well if they're allowed to do this.
I really want to see it go to court, and I really want to see it followed through. I'm not going to hold my breath on that based on the past, no matter what organization or organizations say they're going to do something, until we actually see something, until it actually gets ruled on, etc., etc. And as far as what the ban entails right now, the ban is very specific about bump stocks specifically and not other things. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't go back later and go, well, because we got bump stocks, we got this. And because we got this, then we'll go after that. But I get that. Don't think I don't get that at all. But there's two sides to everything. I think we need to wait and see what happens in court because honestly, you and I can't do a damn thing about it either way.
No.
If
the court spread awareness and show support for the organizations that are filing the lawsuits.
Yeah. If the court case goes in our favor, this is great. I'm not trusting anybody on that. If it never goes to court because they won't see it or whatever it is, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just, and if in a year or 6 months they decide they want to go after something else, I wouldn't be surprised about that either. Now, the people that run around going, they're going to saw off MacLeod's finger. When you guys say that, you give ammunition to the anti-gunners. There's a certain level where it just gets plain ridiculous. But now, I want to see if all these organizations that say they're better than the NRA do what they're supposed to do and at least try, sincerely try to turn this around and actually open up an opportunity for us to take back more stuff, not just shut this down, but use this as a way to take back more stuff. I will be very impressed. Well,
that would be great.
And that's why I'm waiting to see what happens.
Well, I have to agree with why do you need to know out there in the chat, which, by the way, welcome. I don't recognize you. So welcome to the chat. Hope you like what you're hearing. Anyhow, he says that he or she, I don't know, says bump stocks are not a firearm. Now everything is up for grabs. Not so much a bump stock thing, more of a precedence thing. And that's it. They are setting precedent with this.
Suppressors aren't firearms, and they set precedents for that in 1934.
Yeah. But as far as being able to change think about this. The ATF just changed the law, something that only the legislature is supposed to be able to do. The law defines what a machine gun is. The ATF just redefined that. Think about it. A bureaucrat, an unelected, unaccountable bureaucrat, changed the law with the stroke of a pen. And that is wrong. And if they can do it with this, they can do it with anything. That's why this is the hill that this is the hill you need to stand on and fight.
Did you read the legal definition of how they explained how it's one action, not one pull?
It sounded like a whole bunch of bullshit to me, frankly.
Okay.
It's just bullshit. We're just trying to justify doing what we want to do. And they can't, the fact is, they can't do it. Now, if the legislature had wanted to enact legislation to modify the Gun Control Act or the NFA or whatever it is that the law that set the definition, that's one thing. They have that right. That's what the legislature is for. Alphabet agencies do not enact law. Or they shouldn't anyway. CS Blue says there's an article wrote yesterday on the GOA website, GOA to file lawsuit protecting bump stocks and AR-15s. It says they are waiting for the ATF regulations to be officially filed. We shall see. Yeah, that's probably a good idea on their part, because between now and then, they could, with a stroke of a pen, change something in the law, and then the lawsuit is, So it's probably a good idea. As I said, I'm hoping that the Second Amendment Foundation gets involved, because they have a long history of fighting these fights in court and winning. 80% of existing pro-gun case law is as a direct result of their actions. So I'm hoping they get involved with this. We'll see. But that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Just wanted to let you guys know my thoughts on that. If you want to read my article that I read to you guys here, it will be on my website. Let me go over to my website and get a link. I guess I'm falling behind the curve on that one, right? And I will post it in the chat, and I will also post it in the description after I'm done here. Come on. La 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 la. Here we go. All right, I will go ahead and post this in the chat once the chat comes back up for me. Black Cat says he's going to do a video about this too. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to, I think. I think everybody should. As I've said before, we're the little guy, and it takes a lot of little guys to equal the, volume of the big guy. Why do you need to know? This time it may be just bump stocks, but that doesn't matter. It's in the power grab and baby step towards banning, regulating anything they want. Freedom gone. That's it. That's exactly why. That's why I'm up in arms about this and so aggravated. But anyhow, if you guys want to go ahead and check that out on the website, if you want to read it, feel free, share it, like it, use it, do whatever you want with it. Print it out and wipe your backside with it. Hey, go right ahead. It's okay. I'm all good. So, as always, guys, keep an eye on these Congress critters, elected representatives, and now these unelected bureaucrats. So keep an eye on them. Don't ever give up the fight. Have a good one.